This is the story, Excuse Me, Is This the Way to the Drain Pipe? When you're listening to the story, make sure to pay attention how the author actually takes a creative approach to explaining the wastewater treatment process. So follow along because you're going to write your own version of a story also, so you're going to want to really make sure that you're paying attention. Excuse Me, Is This the Way to the Drain Pipe? By Ellen Fry. Martha Merriweather forgot to brush her teeth. She'd already said goodnight to her mom and dad, to Benji, her brother, and Lulu, her parakeet. She was all snug under her red polka dot blanket. In fact, she was pretty near asleep when she remembered about her teeth. It had been one of those days, one of those forgetting days. She forgot her lunch and had to borrow lunch money from Mrs. Johnson in the school office. She forgot her homework assignment and had to call her friend Terry to find out what it was. She'd even forgotten to feed Lulu until her mother had reminded her. But Martha Merriweather did finally remember to brush her teeth. So she got out of bed, headed to the bathroom, turned on the light, picked up the toothbrush, picked up the toothpaste, put the toothpaste on the toothbrush. But just as Martha was bringing the toothbrush with the toothpaste to her teeth, she noticed a drop of water that was just beginning to drip from the faucet, which isn't so very unusual. But this drop didn't drip and it didn't drop. Instead, it seemed to get bigger and bigger. Furthermore, it seemed to be waving to her. Yes, it was waving to her. In fact, it seemed to be speaking to her. Yes, it was speaking to her. In fact, it was asking her a question. Excuse me, is this the way to the drain pipe? The drop was asking as it pointed to the drain in the sink. Yes, it is, answered Martha, her eyes wide open with amazement. But you're talking. Yes, said the drop. I often talk when I have a question, and if you recall, I did have a question. You see, he says, my travel book says that I should flow from the Merriweather's groundwater well, continue on up through the Merriweather's water pipes until I get to the Merriweather's bathroom faucet. At that point, my travel book says I should dive downward to the Merriweather's drain pipe. So you can see the picture here. I hope you're following along as I'm reading. He went through the groundwater, pulled up through the well, and then into the house. Merriweather, cried Martha. Merriweather, that's my name, Martha Merriweather. And my name is Willie Wetsworth, a traveler and adventurer, said the drop. Pleased to meet you. A traveler and adventurer, whispered Martha gleefully. Yes, said Willie Wetsworth. I spend my life traveling. In the clouds, in the sky, in the rivers, oceans, and streams, along the roadways, through the woodlands and grasslands, down in the soil and between the rocks. Today I'm traveling through water pipes, your water pipes. I was just pumped up into your house from the well in your backyard. It was a fun foodling ride. Up from the ground, and then through this pipe and that pipe until, well, here I am. Wow, said Martha, trying to imagine what it would be like to travel in water pipes. She thought it might be fun foodling if she were wearing a snorkel and flippers. She thought it might be like zooming through a water slide at the amusement park. Do you mean to say, she asked, that at any time people brush their teeth or wash their hands or take a shower or wash the dishes or do laundry or flush the toilet or water the flowers, that all that water has just had an exciting ride through the pipes? Yes, replied Willie. Do you mean to say that all the water that people use comes right from a well in their own backyard? Asked Martha. Well, sometimes yes and sometimes no, replied Willie. It says here in my travel book that some people, like the Merriweathers, live in the country where there are more trees than people, where houses are spread apart. So when people who live in the country need water, they can usually get it from a water deep in the ground in their own backyard. But it's different in the city. The city is where there are more people than trees and buildings are closer together. City water is usually piped in from a big well or lake or a stream or a reservoir that might be right nearby, or it might be many miles away. I have a friend who actually made the trip through the city water pipes. Really? Asked Martha. Yes, said Willie. He started out at a big reservoir. From there, he went through a big pipe to a water treatment plant. A water treatment plant? Asked Martha. What's that? According to my friend, said Willie, it's a place where water is clean, so it's safe enough for people to drink. You mean your friend isn't safe to drink? Asked Martha. Well, he probably is, said the drop. But in our travels, we water drops never know what we're going to run into, or what's going to run into us. Let's face it, every living plant and animal on this earth needs us and uses us. People boil us, drink us, mix other stuff with us, throw their scumdiddle glunk in us. There are so many ways we can get dirty. Most days, Mother Nature can help clean us up without anybody's help. But sometimes Mother Nature can use some help, and a water treatment plant does just that. It's kind of like Mother Nature's little helper. My friend said it was really weird going through the treatment plant, but he felt good as new by the time he got out of there. But then, continued the drop. But then what? Asked Martha, who was now trying to decide whether or not she would like it if she were a water drop. If you look at this picture here, this is a septic tank. So a septic tank is what happens to the water after it gets a flush. Then he took a wondrous, long, rip-snoodling ride through some great big pipes, and then some medium-sized pipes, and then some smallish pipes, right into an apartment house, said Willie. Other water drops went other places, like office buildings and stores and museums and libraries, and then what? Gasped Martha, thinking that indeed it might be fun to be a water drop. Then, said Willie Wetsworth, the people who live and work in those buildings turned on their faucets and used their water for something or other, like brushing their teeth. Oh, said Martha, looking at the toothbrush and toothpaste she was still holding. I was just about to brush my teeth when I met you. And I was just heading for the drain, said Willie. But you mustn't, blurted Martha, who had already grown rather fond of the drop. I mean, down the drop, what on earth will happen to you? Well, it says right here in my travel book that I'll be down another septic system and pipes and end up in a septic tank that's buried in the Merriweather's backyard. A septic tank, exclaimed Martha. I've heard of that. A man came to clean our septic tank a little while ago, and when I asked my mother what a septic tank was, she told me that it was a big box that holds our dirty water after it goes down the drain. She said it helps make the water clean again. The dirty water stays in the septic tank for a while, and then goes into another pipe, and then goes into the ground. Martha thought for a moment and then asked Willie, are you sure you really want to go down the drain to a septic tank? It sounds yucky. It's not so bad, said Willie. My travel book says the Merriweathers take good care of their septic system, so it does a good job of cleaning us up. My book also says the Merriweathers don't throw all kinds of nasty scumdiddle-glunk down the drain that might make my friends down in the septic tank sick. You have friends in the septic tank? Asked Martha. Yes, said Willie. Heaps and globs of eensy-beensy plump and jolly bacteria, Mother Nature's little cleaner-uppers. They live in the septic tank and love to eat the waste in your wastewater. Ick, thought Martha. They eat it and digest it and eat it and digest it, said the drop, and like magic, they change from harmful waste to harmless waste. Wow, exclaimed Martha. But like I said the drop, my bacteria buddies get sick when people throw nasty scumdiddle-glunk down the drain. What kind of scumdiddle-glunk? Asked Martha. Oh, like paint thinner or plastics or oils or pesticides, said the drop. Oh, said Martha, who was beginning to think that being a water drop might not be as much fun as she thought. I can't say that I've ever thrown any of my glunk down the drain, and I know now for certain that I never will. Hooray for you, Martha Merriweather, shouted the drop. As you know, I thrive on adventure, but I've heard that there are some septic systems that even I wouldn't want to visit. Some people just don't take care of them, and after a while, they clog up and bog down, and then my bacteria friends are anything but jolly. And then, of course, said Willie, his smiling face giving way to a deep, dark frown. And then, of course, what? Asked Martha, almost afraid to hear the answer. Then, of course, the water drops stayed dirty, 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 he answered with a shudder. Too dirty for anyone to drink. Too dirty for brushing anyone's teeth. Oh, sighed Martha. But I'm going down that drain, Martha Merriweather. Willie laughed and pointed to the drain. His face was once again lit up like the 4th of July. And if I get a little dirty and smelly in the septic tank, so what? Everybody gets dirty and smelly sometime. Down there in the septic tank, I'll hang out with my friends for a while, and then, like you said, I'll float out of the tank into a pipe with holes in it, he said. It says right here in my travel book, Willie began reading from his book, you will float out of one of the holes in the pipe and sink down into a big gravelly place. From there, just relax and enjoy your journey into the soil below. Here in the soil, you will find yourself getting cleaner and cleaner and cleaner. In time, you will find yourself back in the groundwater, not far from where your little adventure began. Willie smiled a big, wide smile and closed his book. Martha asked Willie if his friend in the city had gone into a septic tank when he went down the drain. Oh, no, replied Willie. There's no room for septic systems in cities. Your septic tank is just a short trip from your house, but in the city, all the dirty water that goes down the drains of all the apartments and houses and businesses travels through oodles and oodles of pipes. Smaller size, then middle size, then bigger size pipes that are buried under the streets. All that dirty water ends up at a flumungous, magrungus wastewater treatment plant. Another treatment plant? Asked Martha. Another treatment plant, replied the drop, but this one is called the wastewater treatment plant. A wastewater treatment plant is a place where dirty water that's flushed down drains and toilets gets cleaned up so that it's clean enough to go back into a nearby river, lake, stream, or ocean. Yep, my friend flowed into another wastewater treatment plant. He flowed from one big, flumungous tank to another, getting cleaner and cleaner. Were there gobs of heap of eensy beensy plump jolly bacteria to help him get clean? Asked Martha. As a matter of fact, there were, Martha Merriweather, jillions and skillions and quadrillions of them. They were eating and digesting and eating and digesting. They ate so much, laughed Willie, that after a while they just sank to the bottom of the tank and took a nap. Took a nap, giggled Martha. Yep, laughed the drop. And guess what they did next? What, cackled Martha. What did they do next? If you look at this picture here, that's the wastewater treatment plant. And then that's the effluent water getting put back into the fresh water. They woke up and started eating and digesting all over again, roared the drop, swinging gleefully from the faucet. Martha was laughing gleefully too. She couldn't help it, although she wasn't sure which was funnier, the thought of jillions and skillions of plump and jolly bacteria having a giant feast, or seeing a drop of water named Willie laughing himself silly. And what happened to your friend? Asked Martha, trying to calm her giggles down. Then, said the drop, trying to calm his giggles down, then he splashed out of the treatment plant and into the Witchy-Watchy River. That is where I met him, in the Witchy-Watchy River. We spent one cold January as icicles on the bank of the Witchy-Watchy River. Icicles, shivered Martha. Weren't you cold? Nah, answered the drop. We're water. Sometimes we float and flow as a liquid. Sometimes we freeze into ice, and sometimes the heat makes us evaporate into the air as vapor. It's fun-foodling, Martha Merriweather, fun-foodling. But now, checking his waterproof watch, I really must be moving on down the drain, and I think you must be brushing your teeth. He noticed a big wet tear well up in Martha's eye and slide slowly down her face. Hey, Martha Merriweather, I see a friend of mine sliding down your face. Tina Teardrop's her name. When I see Tina Teardrop, I know someone's sad. Are you sad? Martha felt her cheek for Tina Teardrop, but Tina had already evaporated into the air. Must you go? She asked. I could keep you with me in a special little jar. But Martha knew that a jar would be a very bad place for a traveler and adventurer. Will I ever see you again? Asked Martha. Of course you will, smiled Willie. Whenever you turn on your faucet, or catch a snowflake in your hand, or see the frost on your window pane, or watch the mist rise from your spaghetti water, or swim in a swimming pool, or watch a flower grow, I'll be there. I'm always here, Martha Merriweather. But if I were to become too dirty, even you wouldn't want to have me around. So make sure you let your friends and family know that we water drops need to stay clean for the sake of all the people and animals and flowers and trees in the whole wide world. So, S-Y-L, Martha Merriweather. S-Y-L, puzzled Martha. See you later, laughed Willie. See you later, Martha Merriweather. He waved and winked. S-Y-L, Willie Wetsworth, whispered Martha. And before her very eyes, right before her eyes, Willie got smaller and smaller until he was simply and purely a drop at the faucet. But he'd left something behind, and what do you think it was? He left his travel book with all of the pictures of pipes and wells and groundwater and ponds and lakes and oceans and glaciers and raindrops and snowflakes and... Martha picked up the little book and opened it to the first page, and what do you think she saw? She saw a little message. It said, to my friend Martha Merriweather from your friend Willie Wetsworth. That's what it said. Martha brushed her teeth and watched the foamy water wash down the drain, knowing that Willie was on his way to another adventure. She turned off the water, put her toothbrush away, and returned to bed. She crawled under her polka dot blanket, then she took the travel book and tucked it carefully under her pillow. It had been quite a night, a fun, foodling night. I hope you enjoyed our story. You're going to be writing your own story, which is going to be a creative way to talk about the steps of the wastewater treatment process. So think about that as we end our story today. Have a good day.